2,000 years before anyone poured a concrete slab for a metal building, the Romans had already solved a problem barndominium owners are still fighting today. How do you build a big, open structure that still feels private, lets in real light, and stays comfortable without modern HVAC doing all the work? Their answer was a floor plan called the domus, built around a central atrium. And right now, barndominium designers are quietly borrowing that exact layout logic. In this video, I'm giving you the real history behind this design, why it's genuinely resurfacing in 2026, and the honest engineering and cost reality of building it today. Stay to the end, because the ancient detail in the center of this floor plan is the one most modern versions get completely wrong. Before we get into the history, if you love it when old architecture actually explains why a modern trend works, hit subscribe. This is Homes and Haven, and every week I dig into the real design logic and real cost behind the builds people are talking about. Let's get into it. Let's start with the real history, because this floor plan wasn't decorative. Every piece of it solved a specific, practical problem. The domus was the standard house of a middle to upper class Roman family, and its layout was built around a sequence, not a single room. You'd enter through a narrow front door directly into the atrium, a large central hall, open to the sky through a rectangular opening in the roof called the compluvium. Beneath that opening sat a shallow basin, the impluvium, which caught rainwater as it ran off the inward-sloping roof and funneled it into an underground cistern. That collected water was primarily used for washing, cooling, and general domestic utility, not drinking. Actual drinking water in most Roman urban settings came from public fountains supplied by the city's aqueduct network, so the impluvium was a genuinely clever non-potable water system, not the household sole water source. Around that central atrium, smaller private rooms opened off to the sides, bedrooms, storage, sometimes a home office of sorts called the tablinum, positioned to give the head of the household a direct sight line down the entire length of the house, from the front door through the atrium, and often straight into a garden at the back. Wealthier homes extended that garden into a peristyle, a colonnaded courtyard, open to the sky, wrapped by a covered walkway on all four sides. The genius of this layout wasn't aesthetic. It was functional on three specific levels. Light and ventilation reached the interior of a fully enclosed structure without needing exterior-facing windows on every room, which mattered enormously in a dense city where homes were often built wall-to-wall with their neighbors. Rainwater was actively harvested rather than simply shed off the roof and wasted, in a climate where water access wasn't guaranteed. And privacy was built in by design. The exterior walls facing the street were largely blank, while the real living happened facing inward, toward the family's own private open-air space. The ventilation piece deserves a real explanation, because it's the actual physics that made this design work without any mechanical cooling, not just a nice side effect of having an open roof. Warm air naturally rises, and in the domus, hot air inside the home escaped continuously through that top compluvium opening. As that warm air left, it created a pressure draw that actively pulled cooler air in through the shaded perimeter rooms and surrounding masonry, a genuine, continuous air exchange driven purely by temperature difference, known today as stack ventilation or the chimney effect. It wasn't just a hole that let light in. It was the engine that kept the whole house breathing. That's not a modern reinterpretation of Roman architecture. That's literally what the design was built to do, verified by archaeological excavation of sites like Pompeii and Herculaneum, where entire domus floor plans survive largely intact. Here's the honest connection, and it's a genuinely strong one once you see it. A barndominium starts from a fundamentally similar problem to a Roman city house. You've got a large, often boxy structure, sometimes with limited exterior articulation, and the challenge is making the interior feel like a home rather than a shell. Courtyard-style barndominium layouts have been building momentum for exactly this reason over the past couple of years, and the atrium concept is the most historically complete version of that same idea. Light and air reaching the interior through a central open space, rather than relying entirely on a perimeter of windows. The privacy angle translates especially well to rural and semi-rural barndominium builds specifically. A lot of owners choosing this housing style are building on open land where they want genuine outdoor living space, but don't necessarily want that space fully exposed to the road, to neighbors, or to wide open sight lines. An atrium-inspired layout gives you a blank, private-feeling exterior with all the real living and outdoor connection happening inward, facing a space only you control, which is precisely the same design logic that made this layout work in a crowded Roman city, just applied to a very different kind of privacy concern. And there's a practical construction angle too. Because a barndominium is typically built as a single large rectangular or near rectangular shell to begin with, carving a central atrium or courtyard into that shell is a genuinely natural fit for the structure type, in a way it wouldn't be for, say, a narrow 2-story suburban lot. I want to be honest about the historical framing here specifically. No barndominium company is shipping you an authentic Roman impluvium cistern system. What's actually happening is that designers are borrowing the layout logic. Central open courtyard, rooms arranged around it, a controlled sight line from entry to interior, and adapting it with modern materials, modern drainage, and modern glazing. It's a design lineage, not a literal replica, and any content that implies you're building an actual ancient Roman water harvesting system in your backyard is overselling the connection. Let's get specific about what this actually looks like built today, because the modern translation is smart, but it's a genuine reinterpretation, not a copy-paste. The compluvium and impluvium, that open roof cut and the water-catching basin beneath it, become, in a modern build, one of two approaches. Some designs use a genuine open-to-sky courtyard, fully outdoors, functioning almost exactly like the Roman original, a true open-air space at the center of the home, with the surrounding rooms facing inward through large glass doors or windows. Others use a covered, glazed atrium instead, a skylight-topped central space that stays weatherproof and climate-controlled year-round, trading the literal open sky connection for something more practical in climates with real winters or heavy rain, while keeping the visual and light benefit. The tablinum sightline concept, that deliberate view straight through the house from entry to the back, shows up in modern atrium barndominiums as an intentional design choice. Your front door doesn't dump you straight into a hallway. It opens onto a real view through the central courtyard or atrium space, often all the way to a rear window or outdoor area. It's a genuinely different first impression than a standard barndominium's straight shot into a great room. In the private perimeter, public interior logic survives almost entirely intact. Bedrooms and private spaces get positioned along the outer walls with more limited exterior glazing, while the shared living spaces, kitchen, dining, living area, face inward toward the atrium or courtyard, getting their natural light and their sense of openness from the center of the home rather than the street-facing perimeter. What doesn't survive the translation, and shouldn't? Multiple households under one roof, a full staff of household slaves, and load-bearing masonry construction 2,000 years old. This is a layout borrowed for its logic, built with 2026 materials and code requirements, for a completely different kind of household and climate range than it was originally designed for. Here's where this video needs to be direct, because a design story is only useful if it comes with a real number attached. The same honest principle applies here that applies to every courtyard-style barndominium layout. Cutting an atrium or courtyard into the center of a rectangular shell adds real exterior wall perimeter and roofline complexity compared to a simple boxy footprint with the same interior square footage. More corners, more linear feet of wall facing the interior courtyard, more roof intersections where a covered walkway meets the main structure. All of that adds shell cost per usable square foot compared to the gold standard, simple rectangular barndominium footprint that remains the most cost-efficient shape in this entire housing category. If you're pursuing the open-to-sky courtyard version, expect a real premium tied specifically to that opening. Proper drainage engineering, weatherproofing at every point where the roofline meets the open courtyard edge, and typically higher-spec glass doors or windows along that entire inward-facing perimeter, since that's now your primary source of natural light for several rooms at once. If you're pursuing the covered, glazed atrium version instead, your premium shifts toward the skylight and structural glazing system itself. A genuine structural skylight spanning a meaningful area is a real engineering line item, not a simple window upgrade, and it needs to be specified and quoted directly rather than assumed as a standard finished cost. Neither version is a budget-tier choice compared to a simple rectangular shell, and it's dishonest to pretend otherwise. What you're paying for is a genuinely different daily experience of the home, more natural light reaching more rooms, a real sense of privacy from the exterior, and that distinctive entry sight line. Not a cheaper way to build a barndominium. If cost efficiency is your primary driver, a simple rectangular footprint remains the more budget-friendly path. And this video isn't going to pretend the Roman-inspired layout competes with that on price. There's one more cost driver worth being genuinely precise about, because it's easy to underestimate. Every wall facing your central atrium or courtyard isn't an interior partition wall. Under standard energy codes, it's legally and thermally an exterior wall, and it has to be insulated, sealed, and flashed to the exact same standard as the outermost walls of the home. That means real insulation, a proper weather barrier wrap, correctly flashed window assemblies, and high-efficiency glass on every opening facing that central space, not the lighter-duty treatment an interior wall would normally get. That additional high-performance glazing also increases heat loss in winter and solar heat gain in summer compared to a solid interior wall, which is a real, ongoing driver of both your framing budget and your mechanical system sizing. Worth planning for from the start, not discovering when your energy code inspection comes back with a list of requirements you didn't budget for. And here's the detail I promised you at the start. The one piece of this ancient design that modern builders most commonly get wrong, and it's the exact same piece the Romans built their entire system around: water management at the center of the house. The Romans didn't just tolerate an open hole in their roof. They engineered an entire system around it, with the roof intentionally sloped inward toward the compluvium, and a basin and cistern specifically designed to capture and direct that water somewhere useful. It was the load-bearing purpose of the entire design, not an afterthought. Modern courtyard and atrium barndominiums frequently treat the central opening as a purely aesthetic feature and under-engineer the water management around it. When multiple roof planes pitch inward toward a central courtyard, rainwater runoff from all of those surfaces concentrates directly into one localized area. And without intentional site grading, proper subslab or perimeter drainage, and real French drains, or a catchment system engineered for that specific volume of water, a central courtyard will pool water directly against the home's foundation. That leads to moisture intrusion, subslab erosion, and exactly the kind of structural water damage that a poorly executed courtyard design is genuinely known for. The honest, and frankly kind of poetic, fix is to actually borrow the Roman solution rather than just their floor plan. Treat that central water collection as a real engineered system, not a decorative afterthought. Whether that means a modern rain garden and French drain system doing the job of the ancient impluvium, or simply a properly engineered catchment and drainage plan built into your foundation from day one, the lesson from 2,000 years ago still holds. If you're going to build a hole in the middle of your roof, you'd better have a real plan for where that water goes, because the Romans certainly did, and their houses are still standing evidence that the plan worked when it was executed properly. A few more honest, practical notes if you're seriously considering this layout for your own build. Climate genuinely matters here, the same way it matters for any courtyard-style design. An open-to-sky atrium works best in climates with moderate rainfall and temperatures that don't swing to extremes. Heavy snow load on an open courtyard, or a climate with genuinely brutal winters, tends to push builders toward the covered, glazed atrium version instead, simply because an open hole in your roof is a much harder sell somewhere that sees regular sub-zero temperatures or heavy snow accumulation. HVAC zoning deserves real thought with this layout. If you're going with the covered atrium approach, that central glazed space still needs to be conditioned like any other room, and a large glass-topped area can bring meaningful solar heat gain in summer that your HVAC system needs to be sized to handle. This isn't a reason to avoid the design. It's a reason to make sure your mechanical contractor is actually accounting for it in their load calculations rather than treating it as a hallway. There's a genuine opportunity here too, worth mentioning honestly. That same stack ventilation principle the Romans relied on can still do real work in a modern build. Barndominiums already tend to have tall cathedral or scissor truss ceilings, which is exactly the geometry stack ventilation needs to function well. Installing operable clear-story windows or a motorized skylight at the peak of your roofline, positioned above the atrium or central living space, can meaningfully lower your summer cooling load by letting that same rising hot air pressure draw effect pull cooler air through your shaded perimeter rooms. A genuine, low-cost passive cooling boost you get almost for free by simply making a portion of your existing roof line openable, rather than fixed glass only. And privacy, while genuinely one of this layout's strongest selling points, depends entirely on execution. The blank, private-feeling, street-facing exterior only works if your window and door placement actually commits to that logic. A design that claims Roman-inspired privacy, but still puts large windows on the street-facing walls out of habit, isn't actually delivering the thing it's named after. So who should genuinely consider this layout for their own build? If privacy from the road or from neighbors is a real priority for you, and you like the idea of your most beautiful outdoor space being one only you and your household actually see, this layout delivers on that promise more completely than almost any other barndominium floor plan available right now. If you're building in a climate that suits either the open air or covered atrium approach, and you're genuinely drawn to natural light reaching deep into the interior of the home rather than just along the exterior walls, this is a real, functional reason to choose this layout, not just an aesthetic one. And if you have the budget flexibility to treat this central water feature as the real engineered system it needs to be, rather than a decorative afterthought squeezed into a tight budget, you're set up to actually get the benefits this design has been delivering for 2,000 years, instead of the drainage problems that come from copying the look without copying the engineering. If cost efficiency is your primary constraint, or you're building somewhere with genuinely harsh winters and heavy snow load, it's worth being honest with yourself that a simpler rectangular footprint, or a more modest partial courtyard approach, may serve you better than the full atrium concept. And that's a completely reasonable choice, not a lesser one. That's the real story behind the floor plan quietly showing up in barndominium designs right now. A genuinely 2,000-year-old piece of architectural logic, an honest look at how it translates into 2026 materials and budgets, and the one engineering detail the Romans understood better than a lot of modern builders still do. If this gave you a deeper appreciation for where this trend actually comes from, do me a favor and subscribe. This is Homes and Haven. I put these breakdowns together because I'd rather you understand the real design logic and the real cost behind a trend than just see a pretty rendering. New videos like this one drop every week. Let me know in the comments. Does the atrium concept fit your land and your climate? Or is this one you're admiring from a distance? I read every comment, and it genuinely shapes what we cover next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.